Hey there, welcome to another episode of Transportation Talk. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about operations. But what does that even mean? Stick around, let's find out.
Good morning, everybody, and it's time for another Transportation Talk. Jason, are you ready?
Yeah, good morning, Kathy. I am more than ready. Trust me, more than ready.
We've got such a great show lined up,
do.
and we've got special guests, and we're doing this a little bit differently. We actually got to be in the same room together.
I know,
to make this show,
amazing,
and
isn't it?
So it was so fun.
Yep.
You know, lots of new tricks and turns and twists, but you guys are in for a treat, and I'm gonna let Jason let you know who our guests are.
Well, I'll tell you, Kathy, they are totally not unknown to us. We work with them closely. They are two members of the operation team here at SETD, and we are excited to, or actually just, really I'm appreciative, that we have them both here so that we can kind of dig a little deeper, kind of drill down a little bit more in what is the operations department here at Sunset Empire Transportation District. So I look forward to learning along with everyone here, hopefully watching our show today. I'd like to welcome Jennifer Geisler. She's our Deputy Operations Officer. And Paul Lewicki. He is our Operations Officer. And we're really excited to have him here, have Jennifer here. And Kathy, I know you and I are looking forward to this and really excited to maybe have them introduce themselves a little bit. So Paul, Jennifer, go right on ahead. Let's hear what you guys got to say and introduce yourself, please.
Well, I'm Paul Lewicki. I'm Chief Operations Officer with SETD. I've been here for 5 years. I've been in the transportation industry for 35 years, and I'm happy to be here this morning.
And I'm Jennifer Geisler. I've been with Sunset Empire Transportation for about 7 years. I'm the Deputy Operations Officer. I started here as a driver, subbing in the summers and during Christmas break, and have worked my way into the office and then into the position I'm in now. So I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
Wow, Jennifer, what a great example of career upward mobility in Sunset Empire Transportation District. I bet lots of people didn't realize that was possible. And I'm curious, what all goes into, what do you need to know to be a deputy operations officer?
So becoming from a driver to an operations manager, a lot has to be learned. And I didn't realize how much behind the scene goes on to put the tires on the road and to keep us moving. There's a lot of daily tasks, ordering and landscaping and organizing and communication and staying on task and quick moving in the gears and, a lot of...
Even training and stuff like
yeah,
that? I mean,
yes, a lot of
training
training
that happens. People need to know what they're doing, right?
Yes. And knowing what your drivers need, what your maintenance needs, your front office needs to keep paperwork moving because we need all that data. So it takes a lot.
And never mind all the federal and state laws and regulations and all of those things that you have to follow.
That's a constant learning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, operations takes the resources that are available, the people, the equipment, the facilities, and uses those to perform the tasks and the processes necessary in order to, in a safe and effective way, provide services to the riders throughout our service area.
So Paul, we've been talking a little bit about what the operations department does and how important it is to, not only the people that ride the bus, but how important it is to the district and what the importance is of all of the different things that the operations department does do. What are some of maybe the little lesser known items? Is there something that you might be able to kind of tell us that maybe that even Kathy and I might not know about, maybe perhaps, or really what does it take to keep those buses on the road? Something that we might not know about that helps keep those buses on the road.
Well, we put a lot of effort into developing timetables, schedules that make sense. We try and mirror our 20-year plan when we design routes and the areas that we service. We're always mindful of giving equitable service in each of the geographic areas that we ride in. There's marketing, there's business planning, there's responding to incidents in the field, there's overseeing small construction projects like new bus shelter development and installation.
Well, something that comes to mind is just even the simple landscaping at the transit center.
Absolutely.
For safety for drivers, staff, and our riders, and just the look of the area, and just keeping the cleaning of the shelters.
So, Kathy, that's what people see. We see that, right?
Yeah, those are the things that we do see and people notice, and they just don't realize who's responsible for them. And we have the theys that are responsible for it right here in the room right now. And it's just it's such an important part of a transportation system and operations. I mean, it's one of the details, but it's a detail that matters to the riding public because it really gives the impression and shows that the district cares. It Indeed. Is an outward sign that the buses are cared for, the people that ride them are cared for, and therefore safe. And it makes it amenable and approachable for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate that. And I'm actually wondering, Kathy, after you said that, I'm wondering maybe what is their favorite part of operations? It's a tough question, but I'd like to know. So, I mean, Jennifer and Paul, what is your favorite thing about operations?
For me, the best part of operations is the fact that as an operation manager, you have influence over so many aspects of the business. And working together as a team, monitoring what other transportation agencies are doing, what's happening in the industry, we actually have an opportunity to make changes at SETD and see the results of them and continue to strive for improvements in all aspects of our business.
That's really fantastic.
Yeah. And Jennifer,
that would keep me going too.
Yeah.
As why don't you take us out of this segment here and let us know maybe perhaps what one of your favorite thoughts is about operations and what you do here.
Knowing what some things that need to help, having riders call and say, I need to be at work at this time. Is there anything you can do? And we can make those tweaks in the schedule, something as that simple. If we know of situations that are coming up, we can plan for those, rewrite the route to help accommodate for work schedules and traffic. And then on top of that, the drivers put input, let us know what's going out there on the road. And here's our regular riders, and these are things they need to do. And so they then getting those phone calls back or the feedback from the drivers and saying, thank you, and they get it. And that's what we want. We want the public to know, the communication between the drivers and then back to the office. And then, that we're all, communication is key in making this work. And if, the public and the drivers let us know, we can sometimes make those changes small and or big, and knowing where the service is needed. And
well, Jennifer and Paul, thank you very much for those very thoughtful answers. I know that was very important to hear those things. So thank you very much to really kind of talk about what some of your favorite things in operations. So listen, we're going to get out of this segment. We're going to watch a little video, and then we're going to hit you on the other side, okay?
I've ridden the bus since 1986, and it feels good to give back to the community, knowing that cleanliness is important. It just feels good to be able to help keep the community clean and be a light to the world. So I'm really happy to be a part of the bus family here. So I just started off on the exterior of it, rinse it off, scrub it. It's a good workout. washing these buses every day. And then I go into the inside and I sweep it out, wash the seats, and if they're really dirty in the windows, and then I sanitize it and mop it, and then I wash the windshield, and then put my heart and soul into it. I do it because it makes me feel good knowing that it's clean out there for the community, and I just do onto others what I want done to myself, so I just put my heart and soul into it.
When you're done with the bus and you see it go out, you see it on the route,
I feel good.
people up, what do you feel like?
I feel really good. Like I was with my mom the other day, and I was like, Mom, look at how clean that bus is. She's like, wow, that is clean. She's like, how do you know that you clean it? I was like, well, Mom, I'm the only bus cleaner over there. So if you see a bus driving around Clatsop County, it's clean. That's me. Yeah. And then when I see him the night before, I'll be like, I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Wow, folks. Well, that was such a great video, and I am so grateful to James for all of his hard work as a lot attendant at Sunset Empire Transportation District. It really means a lot to a lot of people out there.
Definitely.
To have clean buses, and it has such an important ripple effect. And it is an important part of what we call preventative maintenance. And preventative maintenance can mean a lot of different things to different people, depends upon the, what they're talking about. But I want to throw this hot potato at our guests and say, what does preventative maintenance mean to operations?
Well, preventative maintenance is just what the term implies. It's also known as planned maintenance. It is a function whereby we address the systems or parts in a bus or in a building that we know need to be serviced regularly. And probably the best example of preventative maintenance is changing the oil in the filter. But there are many parts on the bus that have to do with the efficient operation of the bus and the safe operation, and they would include brakes being inspected or replaced as necessary, the exhaust system and the air quality components of the bus, tires certainly, windshield wipers. These are things that fail at a predictable interval, and so before that interval expires, we do the necessary replacements in order to prevent service problems.
Wow, Paul, that sounds exactly like when we were talking about the ABCs of bicycle care and when you get to bicycle out of your garage.
That's exactly right, Kathy. That was such an exciting episode to watch. Jennifer, I want to know, what do you think the advantages are to doing preventative maintenance? Why is it important? What's the big deal?
So the number one advantage is to lessen the breakdowns, the issues. Drivers do pre-trips every morning and every night, post-trips, and so to get that bus on the road, you have a higher likely that it will pass that pre-trip when you do that preventative maintenance, that the annual inspections and the routine oil changes and the tire changes and the winter prep and the spring prep and all those things, so that we can stay on the road, get on the road, and have less issues that could arise, and being preventative.
Has there been an example that you guys can share with us? Maybe Jennifer, could you share with us maybe an example of preventative maintenance and how it helped the district out?
Well, I would say in the last few years, doing more frequent and regular oil changes has kept the buses on the road longer. We can get more miles out of a vehicle than we have had in the past, and so it's things like that keep us moving, keep us reliable, keep us safe and efficient and effective for our riders.
Well, I just have to think that it means so much if you have your own form of transportation, whether it's a bicycle, a skateboard, your car. You have to do some of those checks to make sure that when you do set out on your journey, you're not going to be stuck between where you started and where you want to go. And
Don't
on a
want to
bus,
be stuck.
It's not just one person that would be stuck. And not doing preventative maintenance has impacts that multiply because of the amount of people the service would impact. And planned maintenance I love that term.
It's a great term.
Because it really makes it possible to prevent those emergencies, so that you are putting those plans in place, those pieces in place to make sure that things don't happen, and that how important those things are, that the public realizes that you are putting those in place, taking those steps to make sure that they have a bus that is safe and reliable.
And I would say kudos to our shop, because as you had mentioned, Kathy, we may have one household with one vehicle or maybe two. Our shop has, how many vehicles are on our lot right now? 20.
Yeah.
That they have to, regular oil changes, regular maintenance. And so it is a busy shop with, a small crew. And so it's a lot to schedule, on top of all the other things that we talked about earlier, about the garbage cans, the bus shelters.
Yep. Okay, well, Paul, I have a question for you as to, we're talking about preventative maintenance here, and we're getting a lot of really good answers, a lot of good information. But I'm curious, how does preventative maintenance actually make our buses more accessible?
I kind of liken it to the term reliability. The things that we do to keep the bus clean, to keep it operating effectively, to keep it safe, translate into it being a reliable vehicle. And hopefully the public sees that as a benefit and can rely on us to deliver the service that we're here to deliver.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, how about you?
So again, kudos to the shop, kudos to the lot attendant to stand out there when it's raining like cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Washing that bus that you ride tomorrow. And it is not an easy job. We all watch him here while we're at ops. And then he's inside. It's maybe 40 degrees out, and he's scrubbing and sweeping and mopping and wiping it down. And it is not an easy job. He loves it. He's smiling, and he does a great job while he's out there. And
cool.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, I just love that you translate accessibility into reliability, because to me, I translate the buses looking clean into them feeling safe. And when the buses feel safe, it really means a lot to our riding public. It makes them more accessible for more people. And for that, I really have to give a shout out and appreciation to our shop team that helps keep those buses on the road, and our lot attendant that helps keep those buses looking sparkling clean. And really together, it really makes us a great district, and keeps our buses available to more people. And I think we've got a little video to introduce a little bit of what our shop team does.
SETD's buses are maintained by mechanics here at the bus yard and undergo many safety and preventative maintenance measures to ensure our buses are safe and ready to transport the people who ride our services. Everything from multi-point inspections, oil changes, lubrications, and many other items are accomplished each day to keep the buses in good working order. The crew in the shop take pride in making sure each bus is ready to go when needed. Preventative maintenance doesn't stop at the shop, but before and after every shift. Drivers have a pre- and post-trip checklist to make sure everything is safe to go, and if any problems arise, timely notifications to the shop are in order. Preventative maintenance is a team effort, and the operations team here at Sunset Empire Transportation District, as a collective, work to make sure our buses are safe and ready to go.
That was such a fantastic view behind the scenes, getting to see what it takes to keep our buses going on the road. And it makes me reflect back at, how far we've come. And if I roll back that way back machine, I don't know how many people out here know that before Sunset Empire Transportation District was a district, there were actually buses running in our area. And there was a bus in particular that is infamous in, our transportation history in the area that ran in our area with a wood stove on it. So imagine that, all of the things that would go into running that. But it just makes me want to ask, Paul, if you would reflect back a little bit on how far we've come and in your perspective, what that means.
But it's just hard to imagine. I have heard the reference before. I know that people regard that with some fondness for the old times. I'm glad we don't have to chop wood today.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I'm curious. When you're reflecting on the tasks that you've completed, I'm wondering, which ones do you count on your tally sheet as things that you feel like are the accomplishments of your time as an operations manager with Sunset Empire?
Well, I would have to say that we have been working hard to procure new buses, and we've come from a time when most of the buses that we ran at SETD were what we call high floor buses, and they had a stairway that you had to climb 4 or 5 stairs to get in.
Big step to get in.
And if you had any mobility challenges, you might find yourself using a lift on the outside of the bus to raise yourself up to the floor level to get into the bus. But we've moved to low floor buses in the last couple of years and plan to continue that way. The low floor bus is one which has a lower floor, which has a suspension that allows the bus to kneel down to curb level. It has a ramp that deploys so that ambulatory or mobility challenged riders can use the ramp easily, access the bus without a great deal of assistance, and have a much more pleasant time getting on and off the bus using these configurations.
So Jennifer, we just heard Paul talking about what kind of buses we have and low floors and buses with steps and all that. So when you're looking at buses, what do you think about when you're trying to ensure that your buses are accessible and easy to board for a general public? So what are your thoughts behind that?
Literally more accessible, more inviting to those that may have challenges. The driver isn't having to get out of their seat, in and out of their seat to help and assist and load. It gives it more individual self-help, because we like help, but we want to help ourselves. And so they're not having to ask for that help. Maybe, they have their, backpack and a few groceries, and that low floor, the ramp, is easy on, easy off. Mobility devices, they are easy on, easy off. They can help themselves, and it helps the driver stay on time too. So there's some logistics to that also. That's and cool. So and it's really helped with our on-time performance and keep the bus moving, and it's more inviting.
So we've talked a lot about the advances and the new things on buses, but I'm curious, where do we get buses from? It's not like we wave the magic wand. We really need sound effects for my magic wand.
We do need sound effects.
That's not a thing. We can't wave a magic wand and get new buses. And you don't just jump on a lot and pick out a bus and take it for a ride and say, I'll take 10 of these. It doesn't work that way either. And buses and ordering buses and bus parts is also affected by supply chain. Paul, how do we get buses?
The buses that we use fall under different categories as to their life cycle, and they have a life in years and a life in mileage. And we do our best to replace vehicles when they approach those thresholds. The state of Oregon has a pricing agreement which lists all the buses that are available to us in the different categories. Depending upon the route and the ridership that we anticipate, we choose the appropriate sized vehicle. And then we add things to that vehicle in our request for quotes. We add a radio system and a video system and passenger counters, and perhaps air purification systems. Recently, we've added some enhanced suspension to the buses to make a smoother ride. And then we go out to bid to the vendors that are on the state pricing contract, and they compete for our business, and we actually buy the buses. And in 6 months or 9 months, or these days in 2 to 3 years, we receive those buses here and prepare them and put them into service. We have the opportunity to go to seminars and conferences and talk to vendors and make sure that we have knowledge of the current state of the industry so that we can make good decisions when we choose the appropriate vehicles.
Mhm.
Well, Jennifer, I got a question for you. What kind of buses do we have in our lot? What are the styles? What does SETD choose to use to bring transportation services to the community?
We have buses from probably about the size of your minivan to we have the streetcar, trolley, we've got the great big buses we see driving through town to the buses that drive to Portland. So we have to kind of think in the future on what that ridership is and what the needs are of our community, both for our elderly and disabled service, all the way up to, transporting to Portland. So having to think ahead and plan for that and buy those buses that fit that service need. So it can be challenging. And then what is out there? Like you were saying, it takes 2 to 3 years. We have buses on order. And then,
So
we
you've
have
got
to,
a really big crystal ball sitting on your
Yes.
desk in your
Yeah.
office, right?
and it's always telling us.
You gotta make sure it's working all the time.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I'm kind of curious. Do you think we're ever going to see any kind of electric buses rolling down Clatsop County highways anytime soon?
Oh, I'm sure it will happen.
Yeah.
The industry is moving rapidly in that direction. Some of the medium-sized agencies are already approaching 100% of their fleet being electrified. It is an expensive venture for a small operation. The expense of the bus is significant, but there's much more involved in the infrastructure to support those vehicles. There are stations to purchase fuel throughout the county now, but there's not a place to charge your bus at different places in the county. So as the technology improves and the cost comes down, hopefully the range on those vehicles will improve. And I do not doubt that in the foreseeable future, we will have electric buses in Clatsop County.
So I know it's not news for a lot of people that often Astoria gets compared to San Francisco. And if you live in different parts of Clatsop County, you may not realize how hilly and how steep some of our hills actually are. So we know that might be a challenge. Paul, what are some of the challenges that we face in bringing electric buses to Clatsop County?
Well, we do have some very hilly areas. Those are challenging to electric buses. We have cooler winters and low temperatures and high temperatures don't allow batteries to operate at their optimum ranges. But on the routes that are longer and on more level topography, I think electrification is a very viable solution.
Well, I'll tell you, this show sure is moving fast. I just enjoy hanging out here with you all and with Kathy and with our really awesome guests, Jennifer and Paul. But I do have a question, though, as we come to getting ready to close the show up, is where do you see SETD in the future? What are some things that you see? I mean, we mentioned crystal balls earlier, so where are we at when
crystal balls and magic wands?
That's exactly right. Where are we going, in the future? It's an exciting question, and I just want to hear what you all have to say about it.
Well, I'll just say briefly, electrification certainly in the future. I will be retiring from the district soon, and so I may not be the expert in the room to talk about future. But Jennifer is working on some projects that relate directly to the future, and I think that maybe you could share some of what you've been working on.
Yeah. So currently, all of our drivers use tablets. And I see the future of transit as a whole going towards the self-scheduling, app access, and microtransit. You'll have to look it up. The possibilities are endless, but as transit we see today probably will be going towards more of a microtransit, which is a dial a ride, curb to curb service where you schedule your ride through your app.
Oh.
And then the driver shows up wherever that might be, Fred Meyer's, your front door, and then takes you to meet the bus to take you to a longer distance. And so
Speaking my language. That sounds so fluent.
yeah.
Wow, Jennifer, microtransit sounds so exciting. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly that microtransit isn't going to be your own private ride. It's a ride that picks you up where you are and takes you where you're going, but you're going to be sharing that ride.
So it's an IT ride shared bus system that will get you, short distance, so micro to the bus, or drop your kids at daycare, drop you off at work, whatever that might work, and it's more confined to what works for your lifestyle. So yeah. Kind of
That's
exciting
exciting.
things.
Yeah,
it
it is
is.
really exciting.
And it has been around for a while, which is a shock to me, having researched this and looking into it. But it's through the pandemic, I think we're moving forward. Some were forced into doing this micro curb to curb service.
If San Francisco can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, and so we're moving forward. That's moving forward. We're not going to go back to where we were. Let's move forward and make advances.
Well, Jennifer and Paul, that is such an exciting note to wrap things up on. I'm so honored that you've joined us this time. Jason, I know you feel the same. This has been a great show.
Thank you, guys.
And so many things have been presented as possibilities going forward. So many exciting possibilities and exciting things in the world of transportation. And I know I'm going to have a good weekend thinking about all of these things.
Same here.
Hopefully you all too. So we'll see you all right here next week for another transportation talk, and make sure you click that like and share. All right, have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All SETD buses are equipped with ADA lifts. Before and after every shift, the lifts must be inspected to ensure that they are in good working order and are safe for the riders to use. Remember, anyone can request the use of our lifts.